I fine-tuned it. You know, I still fine-tune it. But I started doing that in the 1980s. And I did it with the cross, Celtic cross. And anybody who's read my books, you see what I do with the cross. Or you see my YouTubes here, you see what I do with the cross. It's a little different than an average cross. But I like to have a spread that would be helpful no matter what the question is. How you doing, Rick? Hey, Jer. And I see some others here that were here last month. And but having a spread that would work for any question. This way, you're doing the same spread every reading. You get to know that spread, and you get to know those positions like the back of your hand, and they don't change. They're just helpful positions to look into every time you do a reading. And I also think it's important to look at the reading. If you have good positions, good positions are aspects of your question, and if you have good positions, you're starting the reading. You could look at it rationally first before you even throw any cards out. So you look at your reading from a rational standpoint, and then you can go into each of these positions and throw a card into them and see what innovative ideas or intuitive ideas or insight you get from that card that will help you take you a little further into aspects of that position. But I think it's good to start out a reading from a logical or rational thinking as a foundation, and then starting out, and then from there build on it with intuitive insight. It gives you something to be intuitive about instead of just starting out strictly intuitive. So I really think that the card spread is the whole key to a good reading. And that's where creative thinking technique, the conceptual blending of how this works so effectively, really shows what we're doing. Because we've always focused on the cards as what's going on here. We don't really pay too much attention to the spread and the importance of the spread. And I think that's something you want to do. Because it also shows you that you can change the meanings of these spreads to something that you think personally would be more useful to you, instead of just whatever the book is saying that position means or that position means. You can do your you can make adjustments. But we don't really look too much into the card spread. The card spread is the most important part. It's aspects of your question, and you can look into, like with my cross. If you could look into those aspects before you even throw a card down. Those aspects are there. The cards are just answers to those questions. You don't see the spread on your table. You only see the card laid into it, but the card spread is your question. So if you're looking at, like my cross, positions 1 and 2 are what is the real question here? What are we looking at? So looking at the question itself, looking deeper into the question. Position 3 is what things you're doing right now to try to resolve this or accomplish this. What efforts are you making? Position 4 is what's the first things you want to get done on this? What's your first thing you're trying to do? What's the most urgent or most important thing you're trying to do here? Position 5 is what do you got going for you? What assets you have going for you? Position 6 is an opportunity that's coming that you should look for, that will help you, something to keep an eye out for. Position 7 is how you viewing your own question, how you seeing this situation. Is it really correct? Position 8 is the timing. Yes. I hear you. Hey, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's good to see you. It's good to
Thank
see
you.
you, Panama. It's good to see
Good to see
Sartre. I see you too. I see Dawn was here last month. So I see Lewis, you were here last month. So the people, I don't have everybody on my screen. I have to scroll over and see. But I see a lot of people here that were here before. And that's Jerry. I can see it's good to see you. Uh, Tony, you were here last month. Yes. So it's good to see all of you. And and I was just saying for those of you who just came in, I think next month I'm going to have this over at the house instead of here. I always have it over here, but the lighting would be a better set. I think I'm going to actually make a room for Zoom meetings because this be something that's really starting to happen now, and I don't really have anything set up with that, but so I'm going to do that. But anyway, it's good. Looks like this is something that's going to be a regular thing. I didn't know for sure if it was going to take off or not, but it looks like it's going to take off. It looks like it's working out very well. So it's good to see all of you. But anyway, yeah, back to the what I was talking about with the card spread. Anytime you take a question, anytime you're looking at a question, you're always breaking it apart into sections anyway. If a friend of yours were to come up to you and say, "I just got laid off of work," you would break that situation down. You say, "Do you have any prospects? Do you have anybody that works in your trade that you could talk to? How you doing financially?" These are all aspects of this situation that you would be looking into. Um, so we just naturally do that. So to have a set of standard or a template of constructive aspects that would work for any question is something that becomes quite valuable to me. And I think I did that with the cross when I changed it around to my way. Now, whenever I write a book on the cross, any of my books, I think the cross is in all three of my. I think it's ingenious, essential, and radical. But if I remember right, I think I have the standard traditional cross in there as well as what I've done with it. It's this way you have the choice of using both. So I'm not saying it's better, but it just works better for me. But being able to look at a question and saying, I want to look at this rationally first, I want to look at this logically, and then I'm going to look at these. So I'm looking at each position without a card in it yet. I'm just looking at those positions, even though they're not seen on my table. I'm going over them in my head, and then I throw cards down in those positions to give me some insight about some new ideas, intuitive ideas, or innovative ideas, or imaginative ideas, whatever you want to call it. Just new ideas, and the cards do very well at doing that. But I think that having that kind of an attitude about a card reading helps you a lot um, as far as what you're doing, instead of just strictly focusing on the card itself.
Can I add something here?
Yeah.
What I love it about your spread is I named it the Celtic Cross by Petici.
Oh,
And
okay.
what I,
Yeah.
and what I love it by this spread is like after you have the first, you divide it also in three sub questions or sub spreads, and they work what, why, and how in a very perfect way of understanding and working with the cards inside a previous spread. I think it was amazing because it works really, really well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you're right. You could do it's 10 positions of a question, the Celtic cross. You don't have to put them in that cross design. You could
Exactly.
just go three left to right, and actually you could turn that into, which I think on that diagram that I have, it shows three for what, three for why, three for how, and then one left for what,
Yeah,
when.
the timing and the
Right,
timing. Yeah,
right. And actually, you could turn that into a 12 card spread and then put 3 cards down for timing if you wanted to. Why not? I mean, you could do that. So you're not, once you see what you're doing with a card spread, you can see that you can make those kind of changes. And I just used the cross because before I even started doing any of that, it was just out of habit. That's what I was always throwing down. So to change it, why change it? But yeah, you could do it just as effectively with that diagram that you're showing right there, right? And it works out very well. It
Yep.
works maybe even a lot clearer.
Yeah.
Because
it's a lot of it's more objective, I think.
Okay,
It goes
yeah,
straight to the point of
because yeah.
sometimes it's as you put before, the question is very important, and when you know everything that is like hidden in the question itself, you can understand much more what is all about, what we're going to see.
Yes, you're right, and you can give some good advice then,
Exactly, yeah.
and that makes a big difference. So yeah, it makes it a lot easier to do a good reading. And I think people just starting out are very concerned about that. Am I going to do a good reading? That's a very big helpful. It's helpful to have that.
Can you define what a good reading is?
I like when I think people walking away from my table with a plan, with a direction, with an idea of what they're going to try to do now. So when they have that in their sight, I think that's a good reading. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and we'll see what happens. What happens is the prediction. If you tell them, I think if you focus on doing this, watch out for this, keep an eye out for this, and go forward with this, start whatever, this month or whatever. And they walk away, now they got a plan. Well, usually if they come to you for a reading, they don't know what to do. And if it works, you've guided them along very well with that. And I think that's ultimately what we're trying to do. And that's a prediction. I say, well, I see if you do this, or if you focus on this, and keep an eye out for this over here. Keep in mind that you got this going for you. Change what you're doing right now. Change it around this way. Do this instead. The things you're trying to accomplish right now, maybe you'd be better off trying to accomplish this instead of this. First things first. You're getting ahead of yourself or something. And it sort of aligns them up on a direction on where they're going and now they got something that makes more sense to them, and it works out well. To me, that's a good reading. What's funny is that, and you'll have this happen too. I do if I'm doing annual fairs or festivals, where you're there every year. You'll have people come up to your tent and say, you don't even know who they are. They just say, "You were right. Everything that you said came true. I just want to thank you." And they walk by. You don't even know what they're talking about. You don't remember them. But you think, "Oh, that's nice." So you'll have that. And so it's nice to have those confirmations. And I tell people at the festivals I do, I tell them, what's nice about I'm here every year. So you can come back and tell me next year if I was wrong or right. And a lot of them do. They come on by. I'm sure if I'm wrong, they don't bother. They don't bother saying anything. But and you're not going to always be right. But it's nice to have a good batting average with that, though. And that's what it's all about. But so I think I really think it's important to look at, to say how much important how the importance of a constructive card spread is aspects of your question. Knowing the cards is important too, sure, but having something that you're looking into that is constructive, I think, is really what it's all about, and it really makes the difference. And a lot of readings, you could help those people out with an answer without even throwing a card, if you're doing that. And I know a lot of people who I think that innately were doing that anyway because they started out as card readers, and then later on they just call themselves a psychic. And they don't even use cards. Linda doesn't use cards. I mean, she'll use them if you ask, if you say, okay, you want me to use cards, I'll throw cards down. But she just talks with you. I like to use the cards. But some people some readers will just talk with you. And whatever they're coming into their head will be what they're doing. And she always used playing cards anyway. She never used tarot cards. So that's another thing. How important are the cards? She reads just as good as I do. If she reads with cards, she read for cards with me for about 10 years. And then after that, she stopped reading with cards, unless you ask for it. She got them on the table, but if you want them, if you say, would you throw some cards over for me, she will. But she uses playing cards. I use tarot cards. Her readings are just as good as mine. And so how important is it to use tarot cards? Is the application what's really important, or is the cards? And the application is what's really important, what you're doing with those cards. And which is why there's no one deck better than another deck. They're all good decks. Whatever one you like, it's just a personal preference there. So I think we get too focused on the cards. Oh, there you go. Rick's got my cards there. I like it, Rick. So anyway, I really think that keeping in mind that application is what's really key, and what we're doing with the cards. And what's really important is the question itself, how we're breaking it apart, what we're looking into. And I would say start out with a constructive, critical thinking type of attitude. What are we dealing with here with this question? Is it realistic? Is it feasible? If it's not, what do you got going against you? And then throw cards and get intuitive with it, to throw a little extra insight into it intuitively. Like I said before, intuition's like concentrated knowledge, and I think that a little bit goes a long way. How you been, Rick? I see you're not at work today.
Absolutely not. I'm in my room.
Well, that's great. Good to see you there.
I've been waiting all month to be able to sit here and do this with you.
Well, glad you're here. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
All right, I have a question too. How you deal with annoying clients? Well, Mila, how do you deal with annoying clients? Just bang them in the head. No, you know what I do. And this helps me a lot. This is why I don't like a lot of stuff on my table. I don't put a lot on my table. I keep it pretty clean. And nothing of value on there. So I don't have crystals on there, and I got my cards, and that's it, and a mat, and so if I'm done with the reading, and that person doesn't leave, and we're up with time, and I got somebody else I got to get now, I'll just stand up and say, well, I hope you like the reading, and I'll walk out of the room.
No. My question was more like I have a client a few days ago, and she was friendly. We talked a lot, about 2 hours. I
Two
did for
hours.
her. Yep, 2 hours. I did for her. I think 4 spreads on
Okay.
different topics. And after that, we say goodbye, take care, and everything. And she started calling me maybe 5 times a day. She wants for me to be her friend. I don't know. And she's very annoying. I don't know what to do with her. She's a good client, but it's so annoying.
Oh, what I would do is something like that is if they call and say, it's good to hear from you, and then they start talking about something, just say to them then, would you like to do a reading? If you want, I could take 15 minutes, we'll do a reading. And then they say yes, and then you can charge them. You know, otherwise you could, that's what I do. I know what you mean. Sometimes uh, everybody wants a psychic for a friend because then they can call you up and, you know, oh, he just called me. What should I do? Or what this happened? You know, with all these little things, and they'll nickel and dime you. Just when they call, just say, you know, I got a question. I got to ask you a quick question. Say, well, look, if you want, we'll schedule just a 15-minute reading. I just got a quick question. Well, that's my minimum charge. It's 15 minutes. I don't do any lower than that. That's all you
Good
got
for
to say.
you.
And you got to get firm with them with that. And
I know.
that's you know
I
you'll
know
have
all her family history, her boyfriends, parents, problems, etc. I do readings. I don't do I don't know, therapy. I'm not a therapist. I'm a reader. That's all. And it's really annoying. And I can't set up some borders for her. I don't know. She called me. Okay, what's up now? Blah 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 blah. She called me after that 3 or 4 times more. It's really annoying. I don't know how to deal with this.
tell her you know we'll have to schedule. We got to schedule a reading.
Yep.
You know, would you like to? Would you you know? Good to hear from you. Would you want a reading? I'll get my cards and we'll sit down and do a reading. No, I don't want a reading. I just wanted to. Oh, no, I got to. If you want, no, I could do a reading for you. Just say you got to have to get a little bit more firm with it. That's all. I'd be happy to do
Thanks
a
a lot.
reading for you. It's always good to hear from you. But I can't. I can't just talk. And you'll have people say, "Well, I just have a. Can I get a 2-minute reading?" You know, you know, and he'll have that, and people, that phone would never stop ringing off the wall. I just want a 1-minute reading. You know, am I going to get my girlfriend back? Yes or no? You know, or whatever it is. You know, and so you can't have that. You got to have a minimum. Say, well, it's a minimum reading, and you will have people that try to be your friends
Mm.
because this way they can always talk to you about things, and that's you gotta don't I don't get too friend. I wouldn't have lunch with them or socialize with clients because then they become a friend, and then you don't charge them, and that's a
Yes.
big mistake. So you could like them a lot, and you could be
Mm.
good acquaintances with them, but they'll invite you to their house at parties and stuff like this. They'll want to do that. Uh, I would say you don't want to go there because then they become a friend. And can you charge a friend for a reading? You know, I haven't. Neither one of us, me or Linda, we don't really do that. And we give us
At
some
this point,
careful.
I have more friends than clients, and this is bad. I can't charge them. I don't know why. I feel sorry for them, for their problems. I don't have money. I do readings for free. Everyone are happy, and I'm poor, and that's a real problem for me.
Yeah, you're going to have to address that with them, and you know,
Mm.
because if you're getting friends instead of clients, you're going to be on the phone a lot with your friends, and you're not going to get paid. So your clients are turning themselves into friends for you, and that's not where you want to be. So that's a fine line there, and that's very common. So yeah, that's you're gonna have to find a way to tell them, look, I could read you. Just tell them that if you want, I could read you, but I got to charge you. You know, I got to charge you at least. Let me charge you 15 minutes, and just and then it's a game. It's a game. You'll get good at it. That's why I don't do Facebook. I don't really bother with Facebook. Facebook has a lot of social. I mean, I'm sure there's things in Facebook that could be more business with Facebook, but Facebook is a very social place, and you'll have a lot of exposure with people saying hi to you and showing you pictures of their cat and all this other stuff. I don't want to get in there. You know, I don't want to do that. So I'd have a lot more exposure, but like you're saying, what kind of exposure? You got friends? You want to make friends, or you want to?
You're making clients.
Right. And you need to let them know and confront them with it in a nice way. That's all. Just say, look, you could say this to them too. Say, look, I need to honor what I do. So would you like a reading with me? If you would like a reading with you, I'll be happy to read you. But we got to honor my work. This is what I do for a living. Are they really friends? Probably not when they look at
No,
it.
they are not friends.
No, that's what Amber's saying here on the side here. I'm just reading. And yeah, they want you to be their free psychic.
Yep.
And you're their friend because you're a psychic. And they'll invite you to parties and stuff too. And you have to. If you do it, you're going to get them as a friend, and if you want them as a friend, that's fine. We have a couple friends that we've met that were originally clients, but we want to be friends with them now. So we've made that decision to make that jump. But for the most part, no. And there's only one client I ever did that with, and that was after I was reading her for maybe 10 years. And that's because I think I mentioned it last month. I always told her, if you ever get married, I'm going to come to your wedding and dance at your wedding. And she got married after 10 years of reading. And we did go to the wedding, and I danced at her wedding. But otherwise, I don't see it. And but yeah, you get chummy with them, and they're going to be calling you for readings, and you're not going to be able to charge them. You don't want that. And I know readers just like that position you're talking about, and they're pro readers, and they got themselves in that condition. A lot of their clients, they don't charge. A lot of them they do, but a lot of them they don't.
I know it's a problem. I have a client with a very sick child, very sick. I think it's cancer or something like that. She came to me, I think, 2 months ago. We do a reading. It went good. I was happy. And when she told me she had a sick child, and I was like, and I'm thinking, how you can charge this woman? She's fighting with cancer. How can you charge her? Okay, this time is for free. Next time, there is no next time, of course.
No,
and
you
I
got to
feel
charge.
sorry for them. I feel sorry for them.
You
They are
got to charge.
sick people.
Yeah, you got to charge them, and hopefully you give them
Thanks.
some comfort for that. And if you're giving them some comfort, they'll be glad to pay for that. You got to honor yourself. Honor yourself, and that's a hard thing to. You'll learn how to do it. You get so tired of talking to people on the phone and not getting any money for it, you're going to finally say, "Wait a minute, that's it, time out." And that's what you got to do. So
I'm on the phone at least 10 hours a day, at least. And I'm tired and still doing it for free. I don't know why. but it
Well, that's
has
why
to
you're on the
change.
phone 10 hours a day, because you're doing them for free.
Yeah.
You start charging them, you're not going to be on the phone 10 hours a day. I wouldn't want, even if I was charging them, I wouldn't want to be on the phone 10 hours a day. I don't like being on the phone. But that's why they pay me. I don't want to be on the phone. That's why you're paying me money. No, you got to honor who you are, what you're doing. And
You're right.
no, I know that's a common problem. What from Lewis? All right, Lewis, you're asking me conceptual blending before before occult in cards before occultism enters the picture in the 1700s. Well, conceptual blending, we were doing that in the Stone Age. So it's just the way the mind works. The human mind works that way. Somebody picked up a rock as a caveman and realized that this has got a sharp edge on it. I can use it to skin a hide or something. That started making tools out of rocks. That's conceptual blending. So that's the way our mind works. So conceptual blending has always been there, but we just haven't recognized it until recently. So it's been around before cards were around. We just didn't know it. And it became a psychological study, I think, in the 50s. Creative thinking became a psychological study in the 50s, I think. Before that, they would just look at the way genius minds, they would look at geniuses and say, isn't that amazing that Einstein figured this out, or Darwin figured that out, or Gutenberg figured out the printing press, or whatever. But in the 1950s, we started looking into how they thought, these people, and creative thinking became a psychological study. And then from there, we actually saw that there was common things that they were all doing. And one of the most common things that people do, including them, was take something random and just look at it and see, what does this randomness have that will help me with this section of my question, or this part of my question. So before, we just realized that this is human nature to think this way. And so it was around, it's always been around, we just didn't know it. And now we do know it. And that's why, really, as far as tarot cards goes, tarot cards have been around a long time. But this new understanding about how the mind works, now we can look at it and say, well, we've been taking this natural way of thinking anyway that we just human minds have, and we put it into a card spread. Now we can look at it and say, it's the same thing. This is why we have a card spread, because we think this way. And now we have a name for this. We didn't have a name for it before. And now we do. But understanding why this works, that gives us the ability now to improve it. You can't improve something if you don't know why it works. So what we're going to be able to do with card spreads now, people are going to start seeing this connection, and they're going to get creative, and they're going to come up with better ideas for card spreads than what we're using now. Card meanings don't really mean, learning the meanings of the cards, yeah, you're going to have a starting point. What does this card mean? But the application that we're putting them in, that's what really counts. It's funny, the card meanings. People, you buy a book on tarot cards, and okay, the Two of Cups, this means this. The Two of Swords, this means this. And you think that this deck's from the 1700s or earlier, so the Two of Swords always meant what this book is saying it meant. The Two of Cups always meant what this book is saying. No. Card meanings change as we change. So the meanings of these cards have changed over time. too. They change all the time. And really, there is no real one correct meaning for the cards. So now you got 10 authors going to say something a little different about this card than the other author is going to say. You have, over time, these meanings change too. And I can vouch, for matter of fact, I'm doing bare bones tarot will be out by the end of the year. I'm working on it on this computer over here right now. And in that book, it's about, I'm using the Marseille deck. Because I got my deck out now, I can use the Marseille in my book. It's about the Marseille deck. And what I've done is I've taken meanings from that I have in there now that are agreeable what today most authors would say that this card means. Pretty much would be in agreement with what my book says it means. But I also have meanings in there what this card meant in the 1980s. And I have meanings in there what this card meant in the 1960s from other material that I had from when I first started readings. So you have a meaning today, this card. And then below it I have from the past 1980s what this card meant. And then below that from the past 1960s what this card meant. You couldn't, the cards have changed so much, the meanings of these cards have changed just in the last 50 years since I started reading. And you couldn't use the meanings that were in, if I were to use the meanings from the 1960s today, I would be liable for lawsuit. You wouldn't make it as a reader today. You wouldn't make it as a reader today using those meanings. You would be in trouble. I mean, there's medical conditions in there. There's frightening stuff in there. Death is in there. Disaster, infidelity, all sorts of things that you wouldn't, as a professional reader today, say at the turn of a card. Especially medical conditions. You don't give out medical advice from the tarot card. And so you could be liable, you could be sued if I were to use the meanings from 1960s, and even in the 80s, some of the meanings in there from today. You could be in trouble. So we've changed, as society evolves, so does the tarot. And it's evolved a lot since when I first started getting involved with the cards. So we're getting better with that. I'm just looking at some of the questions here. What are your viewpoints, opinions on the Oracle? Oh, Oracle cards from Linda. What are my viewpoints on Oracle cards? It's another deck of cards. It's a random deck of cards. Again, it's a random stimulus. This card means this. This card means this is random. Forces you to think out of the box. You have to make an association with this card to that aspect of a question. I've never used Oracle cards, but I'm sure that they use position meanings just like regular tarot cards do. So this position means this position means that. More than likely, any sources on those cards will say, position 1, this card means this, or this card means that. They might be saying that. If they're saying that, really, I don't think that that's correct. I think what they're saying, what they mean to say is, position 1 means this, now we add this card for ideas for that position. So the card is an answer to that particular part of the question. But Oracle cards are just a random stimulus, just like tarot cards or playing cards. They force you to look at it randomly to find something just at the throw of a card, to be aspect to your question. So yeah, they work. They work real well. I don't have any Oracle decks, but I did prove a point with somebody with a stack of postcards that I have. I got a whole bunch of old postcards, different monuments and stuff, parts of Europe and stuff. And it forces you to look at things about your question. It's just randomness. And the difference between a card reader and a creative consultant, we both use conceptual blending. Here's our source of conceptual blending. It's a random stimulus of 78 cards. Oracle cards, same way. Playing cards, same way. A creative consultant will use anything in the world for a stimulus. From a random word in a page of a book, the word identity. How does the word identity help me? Or another word, control. How does the word control help me in this? So that's another way. Anything you want to look at and see what attributes does this randomness have that would help me be useful in an aspect of my question. And that's what a creative consultant does. So we're really, we limit ourselves to a deck of cards as a random stimulus. It's a great tool for it. It works out. I mean, you couldn't think of a better tool than this, I think, it's for finding ideas. But a creative consultant will use anything he wants. Just think of things you find in the hardware store. Think of things in this room. Anything. And what's interesting is that 200 years ago, there were world leaders who hired tarot card readers as consultants. Powerful people would consult a card reader. Today, powerful people consult creative consultants. Fortune 500 companies, branches of the government. Bill Gates isn't going to call me for a reading, but they're going to talk to a creative consultant about the next project they're working on. Major advertising agency isn't going to call me for advice. Branches of the government, Pentagon isn't going to call me. NASA is not going to call me, but they're calling those creative consultants. They're working with them because they're doing the same exact thing we're doing. Only we limit ourselves to a deck of cards, and we never knew why it worked. Creative consultant knows why it works. So they're making the big bucks. And if you talk with a creative consultant, you tell them, this is what I do. They would tell you exactly, oh yeah, okay, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. They would know. So I think that's where we're at with the tarot. I think you're going to see us understanding more about why this is effective and which is going to allow us to improve it. There's a one from Draven. I always feel stuck with the wheel, judgment, and Pope. Well, Draven, all I can tell you with that, I think as time goes on, you're going to find ways to make it work for yourself. I think it's just a matter of getting stuck with certain cards. That's normal. Certain cards are going to say, this card I always feel a little bit uncomfortable with. I don't know how to really see it. That card, this card. Temperance was one for me when I was starting out. And because it's not doing anything. It's just an angel pouring water, And so, but I found the best way to handle that is to go ahead and really focus on that card. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to find meaning in this card and read about it, focus on it, and try to find some meanings that now that you started reading, you're reading now, these cards are showing problems to you. Look into those cards deeper and think about how I can use this how can I use this as a helpful card in a reading. And you're going to start to get ideas about what that card can mean to you helpful meanings to you in a reading. They'll start to come to you. Oh, I hear Sorcha is asking, I wonder how we can get that creative consultant work. Well, I think, I don't know, really. I know I've talked with Michael Michalko, who is creative consultant. He's a leading authority in creative consultant in the United States and actually in the world. And he's dealt with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, branches of the government. He was an officer in the Navy, I think. And so very educated. I think he was educated as in college as far as creative thinking as well. And he was also, because of that, was involved with creative ideas and consultants in think tanks in the service, in the Navy. But how do you get that work? I can tell you that I would say you could try it on a small scale. Go to companies, different companies that are out there, and just say you're I'll call yourself an intuitive creative consultant. And get yourself a business card and say, if you'd like to see, I might have some ideas as far as how your business can grow, and see if they'll hire you. Maybe they'll invest $500 for a 2-day or a 3-day session there, workshop. You have to take the initiative. And go through some industrial complex, industrial park, where there's all sorts of businesses there. Get yourself a little brochure about yourself, a website, creative consultant. And you don't have to show you have any experience. And just go to companies and say, what do you do here? And I think I might be able to help you increase your business. I'd like to come in and find out what you're all about and see if there's anything I can do for you. Try that. You'll get some people who say, okay. You'll get them if you want to do it. And it wouldn't be, if you want to do that, look at, get yourself a website and, learn about creative thinking. Or read about, you can Google it, just Google it. Learn about conceptual blending, Google that, Google creative thinking techniques, and you'll become part of a think tank then. If you're involved with a company, and if you get involved with them, you're going to be in a room with them. There's probably going to be a big whiteboard. You're going to be standing up there at that board, and you're going to go over all the aspects of the company, what you think, and you're going to direct things. And I knew one who said the hardest thing being a creative consultant is getting paid. Because a lot of them, you don't get paid till after the project's completed. But you can set something up where I need some initial down payment. This person's saying, what kind of aesthetics do I use in a reading to set the mood? Tony's asking that. I don't really use anything. I'm not really into it with that. I have some things. I have some poet shirts and things like that maybe on a fair. But I really don't do much as far as theatrical, the looks. Linda likes to do that stuff. Our tent is usually jazzed up nice with lights, and if we're doing a festival, and scenery. But I keep things pretty down to earth. And I've known readers that are just the opposite. I've seen one reader had a torch on his table. There's flame going out of this thing and all this. Geez, it's a big production. What are you doing? So yeah, some people can get really really out there, and it's fun to do. When I used to do Bastille Days. That had a theme. There was a festival, 4-day festival in Milwaukee. We did that for 15 years, and that had the French 1700 colors to it. It was a whole thing there. So they wanted us to dress theatrical, and so there you did. You know, you like I said, I had some poet shirts with the balloon sleeves and all that, and Linda would dress. And a lot of the other readers had hats and all this stuff, and it was really pretty neat. But yeah, one guy there, we were making fun of him because you talk about a tunic. He says, but I haven't seen you wearing a tunic or something like that. No. And it was one reader, he came every day with the same tunic on all 4 days of the festival one year. And the one reader said to me, he says, he looks like that guy out of the Temple of Doom from Raiders of the Lost, the guy who could grab your heart out of your chest, and he says he looks like he's got, like that guy from the Temple of Doom. It doesn't look like a reader. So you can get overboard. But it does help. I think it does help. It's part of the fun. Have fun with it. Whatever you want to do with it, if you want to put some stuff out there, it's fun to do, and you'll have a good time with it. And you'll find a lot of other readers do. And but I haven't done anything like that really lately. I haven't really done much with that. You'll see in some of my videos, my clips where I have showing the collage, you'll see that I have some stuff on, but not too much. Not too much. I keep it pretty low key. All right, Robert, how are you?
Good. Calling you out of Boston.
Oh, okay.
We're in a lockdown in this state.
Is there a lockdown there?
Yeah, where I am it is. Yeah.
Well, that's why I just keep this on my neck.
I heard they called Salem off too, Salem, Mass this year because of it. And that draws a big crowd.
Oh, yeah, sure. But Salem, what do they call it? Salem what?
Salem, Massachusetts, they called it off because of the pandemic, and there's going to be a lot of unhappy people. The parades they have and the readings.
Oh my gosh, yeah. See, that's going to be a real heartbreak for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And well, this year we have fairs we do or I call them fairs, but they're just festivals. Over the summer, that's where you're busy.
Yeah.
And we don't have nothing going on because they're all closed down.
October's a busy month up in Salem, but not this year.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, it's really cramped a lot of things. And fortunately, as far as business goes, you still have phone readings you can do. But I do miss doing classes for groups or talks. It's nice to be able to do that. And I had a couple of things that got canceled this year because of nobody's going to be there. You're not going to have an auditorium of people. I mean, I never had a lot of people. It's not like I had 1,000 people there. But it would be like a 20 people room or a 30 people room. And it would be fun, So some of them are on YouTube from the Theosophical Society. So you've probably seen them. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of phone readings. You're better off doing the Zoom readings. So somebody's asking me, are you doing any Zoom? And or are you doing phone here? Since you're not wild about Zoom, I was hoping to get to festivals this year, but it's not going well. No, festivals are not going to go well this year, Sorcha. Sorcha, right? Sorcha?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Hello.
Hi. How do I
Yeah.
pronounce your name again, Sorcha?
Sorsha.
Sosha.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So nearly there.
Okay, good. Well, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
And you're doing a lot of Zoom meetings, you saying?
I'm a psychotherapist, so I do. So I'm having to do my work on Zoom.
Okay.
So that's what I meant. But I was really hoping to go off in my van this summer and do a Madame Zora, you know, and do tarot cards from the van. I thought that'd be fun. But
Oh, yeah, sure. It would be, and it'll happen. It'll happen. You'll do it, but not this year. Because nobody's going to be around, you know. But it'll come back, and when it comes back, people are going to be so happy to be able to do stuff like that. You'll have a good crowd, I'm sure. I think what they're gonna need to do is when they get a vaccine, then people are gonna feel a lot more safer, and then things will start to open up more. But this has been hard for just social events, and that's what we are. We're, you know, if you're gonna do the easiest way to learn to read tarot professionally, I think, is to work at festivals. Get a canopy tent and just start put a sign out there, psychic readings or tarot readings, and you're not going to get that now because it's just people aren't they don't have them. They're not doing them. So, hi Pat, how are you? I see you. Good to see you. Good to hear.
Question.
Okay.
All right. The question is this: when I do readings, sometimes I have people that have no specific question. They just want a reading. I mean, sometimes it works out. If you go with your intuition, you could play it quite well. But any particular layout work better in that sort of a situation where there is no question, where they simply want you to tell them something.
Right.
Anything.
Right. Yeah, I know. You'll have.
It's like, I guess it's like a test.
Yeah, right. It is. Usually they're getting a reading because they're going to get a kick out of somebody who could tell them something that they would have no way of knowing.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So how much you charge for your readings?
It depends. It depends. Very little, but a lot of times I will help out humane organizations and just put it, like you say, a tip jar and everything back to the group.
Yeah,
So
situations like that, you could have a lot of that because you got a company, if it's let's say a company picnic or something, and they hire you to be a reader there, the company's paying for it, the people are just getting free readings, then you're going to have that's called a cold reading.
Right.
Where people don't have any questions, they just want you to tell them something.
Right. I mean, sometimes it works out well, but I'm always at a loss.
Yeah.
As to what
Well, I tell you, the way I handle that is I ask them questions. They don't have a question for me. I just start asking the question. I'll throw down cards and say, okay, how's your relationship? You married? How long have you been working here at the company? What kind of interest you got? Things. I just start asking them questions.
Okay.
And you might get some of our persistent say, well, I want you to tell me. I say, well, I can't tell you. I can guess, but I'll just go right around. I'll just go right around it. I don't bother trying. Otherwise, you're just guessing.
Right.
And I'm not gonna. I don't want to take a 15-minute reading on something like that and spend 12 minutes of it playing guessing games with the guy.
Right. Playing 20 questions. It's just really tells me because there's nothing specific.
Right.
And they'll say, well, just tell me how my life is going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you could also just read the cards. You could just sit there. Somebody said, how's my life going? So let's say somebody said that to me. I would say, well, I see advancements in money, new situation for you, and you're on a path to a new job. Is this how long have you been working with this company you're at? Or how long you been involved with this relationship? Things look like they're moving along very nicely for you. I said that because I got the 8 of Pentacles, the Page of Cups, and the Ace of Cups.
Okay.
And I just threw over those 3 cards and I said, well, from what I'm seeing here, things are going pretty good. You got a new situation, advancing forward. Is this a relationship? I might say something like that.
Okay.
Or did you just start this job? How long ago did you start this job? And you can start talking with them. And if you tell them something, they'll start to tell you something back.
Okay.
And if you give them something to grab, like I said, I see you advancing forward, a new situation. You tell them something, and then you could ask for a confirmation. Like, are you just getting involved? Is this a new relationship? Or you have a child? Or you just, how long have you been with this company? And then they'll say, they might start to say, well, I just started with the company 3 months ago. They might start talking like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Now you got something to talk about, the company.
Right. Now I have something to go.
You'll start to feel it out. But if you're in situations like that where you're paid by a company, then those people are not paying for those readings. They're just getting a reading. House parties, a lot of times, house parties are that way too. And they can still be fun, but don't be afraid to ask questions.
Okay.
Give them a little something, what the cards are saying. Just read the cards and then say, does that sound right to you? Is there something going on with that you're moving in advancement with, or is there something new going on here? You ask sort of like, here's what I'm seeing. Can you help me out now? That kind of an attitude. And they'll start coming around. You'll find ways to be able to fish it out of them.
Okay. That makes sense. That helps. Thank you.
Yeah, it does.
So,
Because cold readings can be real pain in the neck.
Yep.
You could also just say, what do I look like? I'm psychic?
I wonder if you can hear me.
Hello, Karen.
Oh, you can? Yes, you can
How are
hear me
you?
fine. I'm doing great. So you just, while you were talking, you just kind of gave me a heads up. If you have a cold reading, I'm always assuming every reading, I always do a Celtic cross. So
Okay.
cold reading, I don't really want to know about the situation, and I don't want to know you, because I want to start cold. But I look at the like the first 2 cards. That gives me the situation. If I'm off, then I'm off, but I have to trust that the cards are right. So I go with that. But you were like cold reading. You go into verbiage, whereas you let them fill in the nouns.
Yeah. I would say
And you
that's
can't be
probably-
wrong on that, really.
Well, I don't know. If I ask him, I see advancement here? Is there something new situation? A new situation with the Ace of Cups? Is that true? Is there something new going on? Or did you start this job recently, or a new relationship? I could be wrong. They could say,
Exactly.
no, you're not. It's not a new relationship, or it's not a new job. So it could be wrong, and so that you need a confirmation from them. And the way I read, I look at the tarot. I think it was originally done as an oracle, which means it answers questions. And if you're psychic, I mean, where you don't really even, you just use the cards as an aid, then you probably don't, you don't need an answer. You don't need a question. And with me, I use intuition, but I use it in trying to find answers to questions that people can't find answers to. So I like to try to give them answers that they didn't see before they sat down with me. But what you're doing, if you're, like I say, you're using the first 2 cards as a starting point, and then from there, I guess you go from there.
And then I confirm it with 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
With position 7?
And then 7 has to confirm what 1 and 2.
Okay.
Or I know I'm a little bit off. It probably, I have to figure out where. But so I do have a question about, I'm playing with the elements more as, I'm getting a little bit abstract actually. They're coming down to, we have 4 tools. We have the 4 elements, but we really only have 2 when you get down to it, because the wand and the sword is really the same, and the cup and the coin is kind of the same. And then you have, if you line them up that way, if you go horizontal, vertically speaking, then it would be past, present, and then future. So I'm thinking, could you just go ahead and use the future as in the cup? Because the cup in itself, see, I'm going to get a little, I'll just keep abstract. You can turn me off anytime you need to do that.
Ahead.
But the cup for me is, well, the cup to me seems to be, you can either focus on the actual container of the cup or the fluid inside, the substance inside. And the substance inside, it's a line of time where you don't know where it is. So could you use the cup as, like, in a cold reading? Like, why not, huh? I guess you could play with the cup as a predictive tool. Because people do like to be a little bit dazzled and have something to look forward to.
Sure. Well,
the coin would be the present. Yeah?
I use the suits differently. I just use the suits as an energy or a consciousness in the people. So to me, coins are the physical world and cups are your feelings. So if cups came up predominantly, I might look at it and say, well, I see this as something that's really in your heart, or you're making actions from the heart. And if I saw swords come up predominantly, or something key, a key sword in a position, I would say that you're making these decisions or you're making these values on this situation based on logic or reason or your thinking. So I use the suits differently than you do. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you use them. It's a little different than what I do.
I'm trying to layer a bunch of stuff on it because I bore very easily. And I mean, you can only go so far with the meaning of the card. But anyways, I'm trying to overlay think, feel, choose. And then the coin then would be the actual present manifestation of what you're in right now. But yeah, that's just another layer I'm trying to play with.
Okay. How's it working out for you?
It's so far so good.
Good.
So far so good.
Well, good.
Also, here's a question. Here's a question for you as well. When you go into it and you're doing a card spread, so for instance, you're practicing on your own, do you hear, are you asking or are you listening to the card's voice?
When I do a card spread for myself or for somebody else?
Yeah. Just for yourself for practice.
Okay. Well,
I guess
I would say with me it wouldn't make any difference if it was for myself or somebody else. I look at a card spread. I look at the application as answers to specific parts of the question. So the cards give me answers. Murky. The cards, I look for answers that I didn't see before. And so the cards help me find new ideas as possible answers to that aspect of the question. Mm-hmm. And that's how I see it. And that's just how I do it. Does that answer anything?
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
You listen to the voice.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I do with it. I'm looking for answers I didn't see before. And the cards help spark ideas for that. As far as the suits, I don't really use the suits that much. So in other words, the way I read, you got the 2 of swords, 2 of cups, Two of Wands, Two of Pentacles. To me, they're all twos.
Mm-hmm.
That means choice to me. Or duality, one or the other. I don't really care if it's a Two of Swords as much if it's a Two of Wands. It doesn't make any difference to me. The first thing, well, I shouldn't say that. Primarily, what makes a difference, what I'm looking at here is the numerical value first. The suit is
Well, because, for
secondary.
instance, that example you gave, the Two of Swords and the Two of Wands, if that's all you were reading with, you probably just from that know that someone is having some perhaps stress associated with how to deal with a situation or choice and justifying it.
It could be
They want to do something and now they got to figure out how they can do it and make it work
a choice.
with just those two cards.
Sure,
Yeah?
a choice got to be made. A choice has got to be made. Sometimes it's hard to make a choice. And
Okay, now let's throw in. So we have the two of Swords and the Two of Wands showing. We're playing cards here, and
okay.
then whoops. Okay, and then Judgment comes in.
All right.
Number 20. Let's bump it up 20.
Okay.
So now we're thinking, okay, maybe I am feeling something that I have to justify as a way of discretion. In my mind, I'm thinking Judgment is kind of, you have to discretion, and it's kind of validated by well, I just popped it in there, of course, the Wands and the Swords. So now you're automatically dealing with probably discretion. You either have done something at work or in a situation that you're now trying to figure out how you can justify that.
See,
how you can walk away from that situation. All right.
Okay. Is what you're
go
doing.
ahead.
What you're saying is I see what you're saying. Okay. And that's what I like about the whole thing. If you start talking with other readers, you're going to see how everybody sees things a little differently. If I saw the Judgment there, I would say, I see you being able to make a good judgment in time. Keep going the way you're going. Don't give up on this. I see you being able to make that choice, a good choice on what you're trying to make. But you got to keep going with what you don't give up on it, because you will make it. You will make a correct choice. And you can also look at it as Judgment, as you might be able to get this choice might be able to be. You might find help from other sources outside of yourself, asking other opinions. If you're keeping all this to yourself, it might not be a good idea. It might be good to bounce this off with some people you know and see what their opinions are too. So that's how I would. That's one way you could interpret those cards. But there's hundreds of ways you can interpret it. And you have a way of doing it. It worked. It sounded very good. And then that's what I just came up with right there. So it shows you that.
And you and I, we match really.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of the same message.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. There you go, Karen. I'm glad you. I think you're doing good with that. That sounds good to me. I can see where you're coming from with it, so I like it. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
Thanks for asking a question. It's good to see people ask questions. Anybody else? Okay, Pat, you're back.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just laughing. No.
Oh, okay.
You know what? Since I am sort of back.
Yeah.
I also read the Lenormand, and it was definitely harder to learn tarot. But Lenormand also has, and I know this is not about that, but if anybody else reads Lenormand, I've seen readers use both decks at the same time, like one to give details about the other. I mean, I personally don't do it that way, but that's also an interesting deck to work with, although easier because it's more direct, you know.
Is a Lenormand deck? Is that a Marseille type of style? I forgot.
I think it originated as an actual game, just a game of cards. But Lenormand, each card has a word that's associated with it, so the read is much more simple because it doesn't give you like the Rider-Waite deck. It doesn't give you all these variables to play with. The card is the card.
Okay.
So sometimes reading with a Lenormand, if let's say the dog comes up, it's a true friend, it's the same qualities that you attribute to a dog. The fox, the same way, somebody very sly, very slick, and so on. Okay. But I have seen people who've used that to complement a tarot reading. But Lenormand was my first deck that I learned on. So Lenormand.
It's a random, like I said, it's a random stimulus.
Yeah.
Great. And I know readers who use more than one deck.
Yeah, that was always a puzzle to me because I can't do it. And I've seen readers who do it, and it's like, why? If you seem to be getting everything you know from the main deck you're using, they will then add to it.
Well, I think it's more appealing to get more work. I mean, if you're competing with other readers, if you have 3 decks of cards on your table and I only have 1, somebody walks by, they're thinking, oh, he's got more to. That Pat's got more to tell me because she's got 3 decks on her table, where Vince has only got 1 deck on his table. So it becomes a marketing appeal to some people. And I know people that, I remember one guy, he's a friend, a good acquaintance, worked with him for a long time. He gave triple tarot deck readings. That's what he called them. And he had 3 decks of tarot cards out there. Triple deck reading. Well, it sounds good. I mean, triple tarot deck reading as opposed to this just 1 deck reading. It just sounds good, you know.
Well, I'd be
so you're getting more for your money. Really, you know. So I mean, and is it important? No, it's not important.
Right.
I used to make fun of them, you know, but I used to give them a hard time about it. But
it's a lot more work.
Huh?
It's a lot more work to play with 3 decks.
Well, he knew the cards well enough where I don't think it bothered him. But it just, do you need it? No.
Okay.
No.
I guess it's more like to develop your own style of reading. Because you can use 1 deck. I use 3 decks sometimes.
Well, there you go.
So, as well as code reading, I don't do code reading. I do context. So if I don't have accurate, precise question, my spread is like a disaster because I can see a lot of things and nothing makes sense.
Sure.
Because the person that is asking the things, sometimes they are very shy and they don't want to ask what they really want to know.
Yeah.
Maybe because deep inside, many times I perceive that they already knew the answer. They just wanted to tell them what to do.
That's a good way. Well, Fatima, I agree with you there. And that's why I usually start out a reading by saying, is there anything specific you'd like to discuss here today? And then I'll actually mention, like, relationship, career, goals for 2020, things like this. I say that so they know talking about your relationship is fine. A lot of people don't want to talk about things from the heart. They're more protective with that.
Yeah, but
let them know that these are common things to talk about. Your career, and it's okay to talk about. So you're letting them know that you're anticipating something along those lines anyway, and it makes them feel more comfortable saying what's really on their mind. instead of just saying, is there anything you want to talk about? Then they might think, well, I don't know what I want to, and it's, so that makes a difference.
Yeah, I think to get the best of a spread, you really have to have an idea about the context, because if the spread is all about the question in what the what contains what is the composition of the question, analyzing and remaking and rethinking the question, you should know the question, or at least what you're talking about. So then
Right.
the person can have an answer that he or she is satisfied with.
Right. I agree. I don't want to waste my time trying to figure out the question.
Yeah.
I know.
Because it depends the way you approach the person. Because if you say, in my personal experience, if you say, you know what, I can make a reading for you, but the rules are the cards, they need an answer, they need a question. I don't read without a question, and that's it. And then everybody's happy because the person is going to think, oh, okay, I have a question. There we go. So it's nice how the things are done. It goes naturally, but you have to push a bit.
There's readers out there that I know who make you not only have a question, but they want you to write it on paper. So they want you to write that question out, and so they can read it. And they won't talk with you unless you have that. And they charge a lot more than I charge. And they're making it. So it's up to you,
Yeah, it's your style. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But people will, if you feel that that's what's important to you, and you're good, and you're giving good advice, yeah, people will pay it. I know that because I know people that are doing it. And like I said, actually write it down on paper and hand it to me. That's pretty demanding, and it works. So it's everybody has their own way, and that's what I love about it. Though you could be doing a fair with somebody at some store. Maybe they got 6 readers there, and you're all talking with each other. Because there's slow times, and so you're just sitting around talking, having a cup of coffee, and so you all have different ideas about how to do it, and you pick up things from people too. Mm-hmm. And they pick it up from you, sharing ideas, and it's nice to do that. But there's no one right way to do it. There's going to be one right way for you as a person, but there's no one right way to only read tarot cards.
Yeah, it's resuming in everything you said. Is just like if it works for you, then do it.
Right. Ultimately, what we're doing is we're giving people insight that they didn't have before.
Yeah.
And hopefully that insight works in something that's be successful for. And that's the name of the game right there. And it's a lot of fun. Well, anyway, if any of you are just starting out with it, you're going to have a lot of fun meeting other readers and sharing ideas with them. And that's it's half the fun of it. It's just, I have this way of doing it, this person has that way of doing it. And there's some readers in here right now that I know are going, they would agree with me for sure, and Jerry, right? See Jerry here from Binary Star Tarot is his YouTube channel, Binary Star Tarot, and he's got a good YouTube channel, and he's the stuff that's out there on YouTube right now is really great. And Dawn is asking, if someone comes to you with no question, can you just ask, what does the universe or spirit want them to know? Sure. You can give them a message. You know, it's, again, it depends on what type of situation you're in. If, like I said before, if you're charging money, usually people are going to seek you out because they have a specific issue they want to find out about. If you're in a situation where it's a company picnic or a house party or something like that, then you might have situations where it's already paid for by the host, and these are just free readings you're doing. And that being the case, you're going to have, they don't have a question. And so yeah, what's good for them? Something good for them to know? What does the universe want them to know? By all means, do that. And if you think it'd be something, if they don't have a question, that would be something that would be helpful. If they don't have a question, you're almost forced to use, just read the cards. So you could say, well, this is what the universe wants you to know right now. The Lover's card, and Strength, and the Emperor. So if there's a situation going on with the relationship, stay strong on things. I do see things materializing in your favor. Or you could say the universe is, yeah, this is what you're here to learn this particular time around, is challenging relationships, but things will come to things will turn around and become more, they will be created in positive ways. You can do things like that, sure. You could have fun with that, because it's wide open, really. Whatever, you're not gonna, anything that you could say the universe has this for you. This is what you're supposed to learn. My thing, I would never ask that, because I don't believe we're here to learn anything. But if you do, and maybe we are, I just don't believe we are, but I can't prove that. And so if you think we have life lessons here, then you can look into those life lessons. I don't think we're here to learn anything, though. I think we're just here to experience. And I think we do it just for fun. It's enriching. It's an enriching thing to do. But I don't think we're here to learn. But that's going into metaphysics and getting away from the cards. But yeah, your card readings will be based on a lot on what you think about as far as metaphysics. Mm-hmm. And that's a good, Dawn's, your question right there shows how what you think about your concepts of metaphysics, and what we're doing here is a reflection of how your reading could come out. I would never look into what you're here to learn this time around, because I don't believe that. But you might, because you're asking, would that be an okay question? Absolutely, it would be okay to look into that. And you might come up with something very good for them, if you believe that. And so that's where it's all at. It's really what you think as far as your feelings about what we're doing here, your purpose here. If you believe in past lives or soulmates and things like that, that's going to have a direct reflection on your readings. And if you don't, that will have a reflection on your readings too. If you believe in guardian angels, that could have a reflection on things. And we all have our own little beliefs here and there. So I think that's what makes everybody unique. So anybody else have any questions? I had medicine cards. We were talking about the angel cards or the other cards that are out there, and I had a set of. They were called medicine cards, and they had different attributes of different animals: the fox, the eagle, the otter, all of them. You know, there was just a bunch of cards, and what attributes did these animals have that you could use in what your quest is? And they were a nice thing to have. They were a nice random stimulus to add. Those medicine cards. I think would be, for me, they were nice to have if you wanted to put those in with a tarot reading, because they're nothing like tarot cards. You would just throw over one card, and the fox. Let's say attributes of the fox: very sly, whatever it was, and something to keep in mind in the next 3 months. Try to be sly or cautious, or whatever. And so you could just throw it in like a little spark of extra something there for them. I got Anne from Ireland, and you're welcome, Anne. She just said thank you for doing all this. Here's somebody's asking me from. I am new to the tarot reading. Should I start studying the 3 cards spread before the Celtic or the Celtic cross? I would suggest for sure I would start using the 3 card spread just to learn it. I think that would be a best way to. I think the 3 card is a real good way to learn how to read cards, because you're making one card work with another. Where you got a Celtic cross, you got cards all over the place. Just getting familiar with connecting the cards together to make a story. 3 card spread works real good for that.
I think it's very nice, your initiative, because you are making it possible different people come together with different opinions without being competitive, without being forcing the meaning. So it's a very open-minded group. So it's really, really, I like to be here anyway. So
I'm glad you're here too, Fatima. I know you've been here. I know you were here before too, and I'm glad you're here. It's good to see familiar faces. And
and that's what I think it's more important is like everybody, when they say something, you always learn something interesting. You always hear something and makes you think about something. Like, for example, I guess it was who said about the cups and the coins to kind of future and present and something. I never thought about it. I never thought about this, and I thought it was wow, very, very interesting.
I know, yeah, right.
It's very nice to share these ideas.
She was talking stuff I never really heard about either, but I know I know it was
amazing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's a place where it's good to have the attitude of nobody's right or wrong. It's just what's working for me, and this kind of a forum is doing that. It's nice to see people with different ideas, and
not being judged and just accepted. So this is wonderful.
Yeah, well, Fatima, I'm glad you feel that way too. That's what I do, and it's nice to share ideas and opinions, and it's nice to have a situation like this where we can do that. And we all have one thing in common: we're all interested in these cards. Just finishing up here, I want to say I got a kick out of some of the meanings I saw in the old meanings from the 1960s and the 80s compared to now, how things have changed. And there's meanings in there like shortness of breath. How can a card mean shortness of breath?
Well, it's very up to date then today now.
Yeah. Well, how can you turn over a card and say, oh, I see you have shortness of breath? Or rheumatism. Oh, this card shows you got rheumatism. No, I don't see how you could get that. Or this card shows that there's going to be disaster. Well, you don't tell somebody it's going to be a disaster. You may tell them, you gotta be careful, but this card shows disaster.
Only in the movies.
Yeah, how about it? How about it, man? I mean, it's but some of them were really funny to read, and I put them in that book just to show that things have changed, and we've evolved a lot with the cards, but we're still going to evolve more, and I really think that the big breakthrough is going to be realizing now that we can understand the application and what we're doing is going to really open things up. Well, it's been fun, and hi from Rick. You're in Florida? I didn't know you were in Florida. Rick Hines is in Florida. Heinze. And
yeah,
okay.
I'm in Central Florida.
Well, you be careful down there.
And you and Linda are going to come down and stay with.
In Florida?
After this is all over, you and Linda need to come down and stay with us for a couple of days.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the invite. That's awfully nice of you. And I appreciate that. But
Thank
next
you
month,
so much.
Huh?
Thank you so much, and especially for the Zoom experience. I need this. Thank you.
Karen, I'm glad you made it. And I'm glad we're here the second Tuesday of every month. Same time. It's always the same time, same place, same type of thing.
Nice.
And so,
thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you.
Keep throwing cards.
Yes. Keep throwing cards. Right, there you go. You take care, everybody, and have a good month.